this skater came up from the minor leagues, from major, junior, a number of years before Boston re-emerged as a powerhouse in the NHL. They couldn't have done it without him. He was a key skater for the Oshawa Generals as a teammate of Bobby Orr before he made the Bruins and finally sent him to a path where a championship title was not only possible, it was a reality. Today we're going to be talking about probably one of the biggest players in Boston Bruins history, respected by the fans, the media, his teammates, fellow squads in the league. Iron tough, a grinder in every shape or form. I think the word grinder didn't originate with him, but if you're going to look at an NHL grinder who could score 20, 30 goals, dig in the corners, play rough hockey, play clean hockey, he could do it all. Today, of course, we're talking about hero of Team Canada in 72, Wayne Cashman. Now, Wayne Cashman, born June 24th, 1945, played professional hockey for a number of seasons, but all of them for the Boston Bruins. Now, the 17 consecutive years for the Bruins helped them win the Stanley Cup twice, and were finalists a few other times as well against the Flyers of Montreal. Now, he first came to major prominence by playing junior hockey in the OHA after starting with the Kingston Frontenacs and the Oshawa Generals of the MJRL. Now, 64 with the Generals, he had 21 points in 27 games. 65, he had a big 73 points in 55 games. Was called up to Boston for one game. 66, he spent the majority of the season with Oshawa's very strong offensive club that year. 70 points in 48 games in a regular season. 35 points in 17 playoff games, and 37 points in 14 Memorial Cup playoff games. Now, 67, his first pro season, undrafted, of course, but a long time, like I said, a Bruin system prospect. He had 56 points in 70 games for Oklahoma City Blazers, including 20 goals. Now, 68, he got called up for 12 games to the Bruins, 4 assists, and wrapped up his career with the Blazers with 51 points in 42 games. Now, his rookie season with Boston, he had 31 points in 51 games, with 15 points in 21 games with the great Hershey Bears that year. Now, Boston had lost to Montreal in the playoffs in the late 60s, but we knew at the turn of the new decade that Boston was going to be either near the top and at the top, and that's what happened. By the time he was like a regular with Boston, wearing, of course, his famous number 12, he was on a big line with Phil Esposito, who had 152 points in his best year, and left winger Ken Hodge. Now, his role was easy. He had to get into the corners and battle for loose pucks and feed him to Esposito or Hodge. And again, this is a line that he only scored 10% of the goals, but every assist he made ended up a big play in the game. Now, he was also known to be a great forechecker and served as an enforcer as well to protect Esposito and Orr, even though he would rarely get more than 100 minutes in penalties a season, but I wasn't scared again to scrap it when things happen. Now, 1970, he scored big goals for them in the playoffs that year, but by the time the 72 playoffs came along, he was key to beating the Rangers and scored twice in the deciding game 6 against the Blue and White. Now, he scored at least 20 goals in a season 8 times in his career, doing so in 4 straight seasons, again, where he also incurred 100 or more penalty minutes. So anytime he was involved in something, he was mixing it up or finishing off a play. He played very strong in the power play as well as kind of the second line or sometimes the side forward. Now, for a lot of these fans, you think his best season was 74, where he finished 4th in the league in points, playing the All-Star game, and was named to the NHL second All-Star team. Now, that 74 season, 89 points in 78 games, 59 assists, 30 goals, 14 points in the playoffs, and he came within 2 games of knocking off the Flyers, but of course lost in the final. Now, 75, after an injury-riddled season, he got back to form. From 76 to 79, he scored 28, 15, 24, and 27 goals. 81, he had a rebirth to his career after injury-plagued 1980, 60 points in 77 games. Now, he was getting long in the tooth at the end, and he was playing 2 out of every 3 games. Last season with Boston, he swan song, only had 4 goals that year in 65 games, but that gave him actually over 1,000 games for his career, and that, again, consecutive seasons with Boston. So, final NHL totals: 1,027 games, 277 goals, 516 assists for 793 points. Now in the playoffs, 88 points in 145 games, including 31 goals. Now, the question is, ladies and gentlemen, again, possibility for Hockey Hall of Fame. I definitely think he should be put in the Hall of Fame. You know why? Consecutive, he was the last original 6 player to play in the NHL. Durability, only Serge Savard. He was the second to last original 6 player. So he was a throwback to the original 6. He was a throwback to the major junior systems that Boston used to get where they were. He was a throwback to what's called the glory era of minor hockey in North America. But I really think being the catalyst as well for 1972, because 72 was pretty freaky. He brought him on the team. He had played 4 games, 2 games in Canada with 2 assists, but he was almost killed in an exhibition game in Stockholm when Ulf Sterner, the longtime Swedish star, struck him in the mouth, and the wound required 50 stitches to his tongue. Now, Cashman almost died over this. If you want to see a dramatization of what happened, look at the CBC Summit Series 2-part movie that talks about it. But if you look very closely, there is a video of that game where he's injured, and from what I heard, it was quite intense just to keep him alive. So he literally almost gave his life for Canada, not against the Russians, but against the Swedes, to keep Canada motivated. And like I said, his us against the world mentality. Not too many people could outthink or outplay Wayne Cashman. I saw games against Montreal, Toronto, the Rangers, where they would put a checker on him, and he would tire the checker out and then score his goal. He would deliberately skate him into the ice and then score the goal and say, you can't stop me, and you're spent for the rest of the game. They call that in hockey muscle memory. Like Wayne Gretzky is known for that, where he knew where Anderson was going to be, Messi, whoever he was playing with. Now, after he retired, he served in several coaching positions, including 5 years as assistant coach for all people in New York Rangers, and 4 for the Tampa Bay Lightning, obviously, because Esposito was a big part of that squad's management. He was AC with Tampa Bay. Now, he eventually became, get this, I couldn't believe it, he became head coach of the Flyers, of all people, for the 98 season, and held that position for 61 games until he was replaced by the Harold Ballard nemesis Roger Nielsen. Now, he served thereafter as the team's assistant coach. Now, he was also on the coaching staff of Team Canada in the 88 Olympics in Lugano, and as an assistant to Mark Crawford, where he plays fourth, mostly because of that overtime loss to the Czechs. Now, he was also the assistant coach with the Bruins from 2001 to 2006. Now, 50-plus years in hockey, one of the greatest cerebral assassins, that no pun intended, that the Bruins ever saw. But you look at the rough stats, ladies and gentlemen. Like, I give an example. 1970, 35 points, but those 35 points were worth 70 points with another team. Every assist he got, every goal, meant a lot, because you could stop Esposito or Hodge or anybody, Bobby Orr, but when you couldn't stop Cashman in those 4-3 games or 5-3 games that they won, Cashman was well earned. I would like to see statistics where he scored the insurance goal or scored a game-tying goal that wasn't a game winner. I think every goal he scored of the 277 was important, and that's what you want for a grinder. Now, will the Hockey Hall of Fame call Wayne Cashman down the road? I would expect yes. Because of COVID, people are not really thinking about something like this. But you look from 1965 to 1983. You turned on the Boston channel, listen to the Boston Globe, turn on the cable channels in New England. Wayne Cashman was always on the front page of the sports or the sports report. He was always doing something. And again, Stanley Cup finalists, ladies and gentlemen. 1970, 1972, 1974, 1977, 1978, and almost single-handedly bet Montreal, him and Milton, in Game 7 of the semifinals in Montreal, but just bad luck, and of all people, Serge Savard and Don Cherry's too many men on the ice, which I think is deep down it was his fault because he wasn't watching. Cashman didn't lose that game. Other people lost it for him, so there's no way Cashman, if Cashman was coaching, he wouldn't have lost. You should have made him a player coach. Wouldn't that be nice? Assistant coach at the time? Maybe he wouldn't have too many men on the ice. He would have screened at Marcotte or Milton or whatever. Stay in the bench. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's the latest in our Boston Bruins Vintage Podcast. If you like what we're doing, if you believe that Wayne Cashman should be the Hockey Hall of Fame, let me know if you disagree or agree. And maybe when, again, the stress of COVID quiets down, maybe Wayne Cashman and Dave Christian, we talked about Dave Christian recently, maybe they might be two new inductees. Because don't forget, even though Wayne Cashman, ladies and gentlemen, was born in the great community of Kingston, Ontario, great hockey community. He gave a lot to American hockey, just being the captain of the Bruins for that many years. Because you're going to think about a captain that really needed to bring them up after Orr had left and Esposito was traded. It was Wayne Cashman that took the team on his shoulders in those rough games, those rough series. And even to the early 1980s when there were still Stanley Cup contenders, because especially involving, Montreal and Quebec as rivals, But, age got into him. A lot of people thought he wasn't going to play after he got injured against the Swedes, by the way. And look what he did. Just to recover in 72-73 from that injury. If you almost die, you're not motivated to play one of your best seasons, which he almost did that year. That was almost a career year after the injury. So again, Wayne Cashman, another legend of hockey. Thanks for listening. Give us a like, comment, or subscribe. And like I said, even if you don't like what we're doing, give me feedback. It's constructive criticism is very good from a person that constructs it correctly, as we say. Have a good day. Bye.